evening, boys and girls. Like I said, I'm going to do an upload every week. And I was struggling to think about what to talk about. I did have a couple of things. Don't know if you've noticed these. You gave up smoking. They're not actually mine. Do you see a lighter around here? Okay. And Bert doesn't smoke, and if I came home smelling the smoke, she would kill me. So they're not mine. I think these were Dan's, and he left them when he'd been working on the Terrican. And these are duty free, and I found them in my Merc Actros, well, in the Merc Actros I was using a couple of days ago. And yeah, it was kind of weird. I was cleaning it out at the end of my shift, and I usually check everything when I'm cleaning it out. And I just found these. I was like, oh. So I've given up smoking. When I smoked, I never found free cigarettes. Never. Given up smoking, I haven't smoked for a number of years. I have the odd cigar, you know, celebrate a christening or something like that, but that's so few and far between. I think the last cigar I had was... I think I tweeted it. I think that was in July or June. It was I know it was ages ago, but they're just something random. But yeah, I've given up smoking, free, and this has still got the duty free seal on it. It's still properly sealed. It's still properly sealed. You know. I was like, oh, okay, fine. And that's the other thing. That's something I was going to go on to. I started this saying there was a couple of things I wanted to talk about. Didn't really know, you know, roughly what I was going to do, and now I've gone into this big spout thing. You know, whatever. Look at those. Okay. You can see them. One is duty free, so you can have all the branding, and one is UK duty paid. And it's got to be that horrible kind of greeny, browny, bronzy, whatever colour you want to call that. Obviously now, in February 2020, we have left the EU. Now, I want to correct people here. We've left the EU. We haven't left Europe. Okay, I've been seeing so much about that. You know, that video, the World War II guys. You know, the 100 and one of them's 90 something, one of them's 100, and that was playing, that was going viral, and they were really sorry that we were leaving Europe. Well, we're not. We're leaving the EU. It was something slightly different. You know, we're not blasting off into the Atlantic Ocean. Ireland would probably get emotional as we hit them on the way past. So there's that. But one of the things that I have noticed, one of the things I have seen, is people have said, it's going to be the return of the duty-free booze cruises that we used to do. And I'm thinking, well, yeah, we used to do those being part of the economic area, so, you know, there's that. But it did, when I found these in the cab, it did bring up a thought. It's like, these are obviously what you get in this country. You know, you got the nasty images and all that kind of stuff. And these are what you can get duty free. They're not, you know, they're not designed specifically to be sold in the UK or any countries that have the rules on packaging. So packets like this, you know, the Lucky Strikes of Benson, Hedges Gold, and obviously the Marlboro Reds, they're going to become more common because more people are going to be getting the duty free stuff on the, you know, the fag cruises and the booze cruises of the old days. You know, the ones that were kind of made famous by Del Boy. Although, to be fair, everyone was doing it. That's what the joke was based on. But, yeah, so, yeah, I'm going to be giving these probably to Dan. I'll give those back to Dan and I'll just say, look, do you want those? Because whatever. But if they'd have been Lucky Strike Reds, I'd have had a problem. Because Lucky Strike Reds were what I used to smoke, and I love the toasted tobacco of Lucky Reds. They're just, mwah. Fortunately, I can't stand Marlboro Reds. They're just sandpaper in your throat. They're just horrible. B&H Golds, they were something you had when you were down the pub. You know, they were something you bought on the way down to the boozer if you'd run out of your Lucky Reds or something. So I'm not interested in either of these, whatever. But yeah, I thought I'd start with that, although I wasn't going to. I've gone wrong again, as always. Can you tell this isn't scripted? There was one thing, I saw it on my timeline just before I started doing this, because I was actually curious. I was like, what am I going to talk about? You know, this was just pure luck. When I found them in the cab, it gave me something to do. And I thought, what else am I going to talk about? And just as I was coming in, making me tea, Bert's in, she's doing her arts and craftsy things, I saw it on Twitter. KFC and Pizza Hut have banded together to do like the KFC poppers on top of a pizza. So that's a thing. That's going to help me lose weight, isn't it? Well done. To be fair, I'm having KFC and Pizza Hut in one, so I'm technically only having one takeaway instead of two. So, don't know whether that'll work physiologically, but you know, there's that. But yeah, Bertie's currently, she's going to a wedding fair thing in a few days' time, and she's going to set up a stand and show all the stuff that she does. See if she can drum up some business for lemonade designs and see what she can do. So she's working on that at the moment, coming up with all these weird and wonderful things that you can have for place settings or stuff you can have etched on glass or wood based whatever. I don't get it. It's her thing, so there we go. But yeah, she's off doing that at the moment. But it is quite fun. Now I know that there's going to be some people in the comment section, because I referred to Brexit a moment ago, who don't listen. How did you vote? You a bloody Brexiteer, Bill? You a Remainer? I didn't vote. Okay? I don't care. In, out, shake it all about. One thing that does amuse me is the amount of expats who are really annoyed that Britain has left the EU, even though they live in Canada, Australia, New Zealand, America. And you see them tweeting, and you see them Facebooking, and you're like, but you literally left Europe. Yeah? You live there. It's your home. You might have dual citizenship, but that's your home. You literally left Europe. Not just the EU, Europe. Yeah? Why did you do that? Oh, well, Canada's a nice place to live. Oh, well, I have more opportunities in America. I always wanted to live in Australia. It's a beautiful country. New Zealand, mwah, magnificent. And they are all very nice countries. But you sit there thinking, but so why are you upset? That one trip once every decade that you might go to the south of France. I mean, to become a citizen in America or Canada or Australia or New Zealand or any other country outside the EU, you've got the visa applications. You've got to stay in that country for X amount of time. If you leave that country during that period of time, that's it. You're out of the country. You've got to stay there to say you are a resident. You want to be a resident. And so you go through all of that, and it's like, well, you know, I might want to go to the south of France for a week's holiday. Well, that's a visa. That's not living in the country for 5 years without leaving it. That's a quick little visa online, print out, you know, your visa access and all that, and go for a week's holiday. So it is amusing to me the way everyone's just going nuts over it, because to me it doesn't make any... It doesn't matter. Yeah, okay, there's going to be some bumps in the road. Well, duh. I mean, who didn't see that coming? But it's just, it's one of those, I'm one of these people that is fascinated by potential opportunities, fascinated by what the future holds. You know? It's like people who commit suicide through depression. That is a serious mental illness that we all need to take very, very seriously. But that isn't something I think I would ever suffer from, because I'm too intrigued about what tomorrow holds. No matter how upset or annoyed or down in the dumps I get, I'm always intrigued what tomorrow will bring. You know, so this whole, leaving the EU, doing this, doing that, a trade deal with so-and-so, or what's with this, or... what's going to happen tomorrow? What's going to happen a couple of years down the line? Yeah, we don't know. Yeah, will there be an epic financial failure? I don't know. Technically, mathematically speaking, more of our exports go outside the EU than into the EU. So, there's that. And of course then you've got the whole racism side of it. Oh, we're only leaving because we're racist. This is something that's always caused me an arseache. Recently, I mean. And that is the whole racist thing. Everybody who voted to leave is obviously racist. And while people on the far left have been put on a pedestal because they're, media attention grabbing, the communist movement, all that kind of stuff, people on the far right, the fascists and the neo-Nazis and things like that, they've been, upgraded in media. But everybody else in the centre ground, we're the dull ones, we're the boring ones. We're the ones that don't grab headlines unless we get stabbed up down the chip shop. Yeah? So when you look at media, whether it's social media or national media, you've got Jeremy Corbyn, who's a communist. Okay, I didn't like the man. I don't trust him. As far as I'm concerned, every time something went, against his favour, his mask slipped and you kind of saw how childishly nasty he could be towards people, like after he lost the last election where he came out of his house and somebody said, so who are you going to back? A journalist was there. Might have been, taking the piss a little bit, but who are you going to back to replace you? And he slammed that car door, the taxi or the hire vehicle that he was using to get wherever he was going. And I'm thinking, if I'd have owned that car, I'd have kicked him out of the car. Slamming the door that hard, I would have kicked him clean out of that car and told him, learn some respect for other people's property, sunshine. But I've never liked him. Never said he was a communist. Yeah? Okay, written for Morning Star. He's been part of groups that are linked, to the communist side of things. But what I saw of Jeremy Corbyn was he was a market socialist, not a non-market socialist. And that's the problem in society these days. Socialism it's been applied to so many things. It can literally be anything. Yeah? If society has decided they want something, anything, it's socialism. Well, you've got non-market socialism, which is effectively Karl Marx. Okay? It's the destruction of the capitalist system, removal of the monetary system, paving the way for the supposed utopian communist state. And then you've got market socialism, which it's social democracy. Okay? It's societal reform under social democracy operating within some kind of capitalist-based construct. Whether it's free market or whether it's a regulated by the government, capitalist system, whatever. So you've got market, you've got non-market. Corbyn, I will happily say every day, he was a market socialist. Yeah? I just didn't like him as a person, as an individual. I just didn't. Okay? That's my own personal thing. But anyway, going back to the whole racist thing, people who, like I said, on the left, Corbyn's a communist. Yeah? And on the right, everybody on the right is a fascist. But it's not. Okay? You've got the far edges, being linked to various people, Boris Johnson's the Nazi. Whatever. He's a muppet. He reminds me of the kind of caricature of an Englishman. What was that bloody show called where they used to use dummies? I've completely forgotten the name of that show. I'm sure you will know exactly what I'm talking about and say it in the comment section. What was the show called? where they used to use those kind of really, plasticky style dummies where the face was kind of almost melted, and it was proper caricature of Thatcher or, John Major or whoever. And it was a satirical thing. And Boris Johnson just reminds me of one of them. But the one thing I will say, and I'm going to warn everybody here and now, regardless of how you vote, I don't care if you're Conservative, if you're Labour, if you're Green, even if you're a fascist, I don't care, alright? Doesn't concern me. Or a communist, okay? Doesn't concern me. Whatever. You believe what you believe, okay? Boris Johnson is Teflon. Okay? It's a little bit like Trump. Yeah? They're Teflon people. Nothing sticks to them. If you hate them, everything in the world sticks to them. It's like I didn't like Corbyn. I never hated the man. I just didn't like him. It's borderline hate, but I just didn't like him. So I never, he's not a communist. You see what I mean? But if you hate Boris Johnson, he's a fascist. Do you see what I'm getting at? This is my warning to you. People like Trump, people like Johnson are Teflon. Nothing sticks to them. You can sling crap at them all day long and nothing sticks. It's like this impeachment thing with Trump at the moment. It's almost guaranteed to be thrown out. He's almost guaranteed to be acquitted because the Senate is Republican and they're not going to chuck themselves out of office. Let's be honest, But think about some of the stuff that was chucked at Trump. Whether you like it, whether you don't, again, it doesn't matter. But think about some of the stuff. For example, there's the whole, he slept with a porn star. Okay. It's a bad thing. Yeah, he slept with a porn star. I don't know many heterosexual blokes that don't have that one porn star they would give it to. I genuinely don't know that many. I'm sure there are some that exist, but I don't know that many. Yeah? Okay, so there's Donald Trump, got a couple of quid. Stormy Daniels is effectively, the difference between her and a prostitute is there's a camera in the room. And that's it. Yeah? She makes money through sex. Even now, she works in a strip club. Okay? That's how she makes money. That is her business. Right? That's her source of income. So there is a man with money, wants to give her one. She makes money through sex. Yeah? Okay. Should a president have ever done that? Well, no. Should somebody who's going to be held to high office and high esteem have been involved in that kind of seedy underground world? Well, no. But it's not going to stick. Yeah, because he was not a career politician. Yeah? And it's like Boris Johnson. Anything he seems to do, whatever it is, a domestic with his bit on the side or his missus or whoever it was. Again, do you see what I'm going? Whoever it was, his bit on the side or his missus. It's his missus. Yeah, it doesn't stick. He had an argument with his missus in a flat during a campaign, a kind of an election campaign, right? To be leader of the Conservatives. So at a highly stressful time, where everything, including the kitchen sink, is being thrown at him, he has an argument with his missus. I have an argument with Bert once a day. All of a sudden, oh my God, I phoned because you don't support the Conservatives. That's why the person phoned. Yeah, Teflon, it didn't stick. Yeah, people who are Teflon, you need to get them on the policies that they are pursuing, not who they are as a person, because they've lived their entire life as that person and ended up in the position they're in. Okay, so nothing is stuck. So what you need to do is you need to get them on their policies, on the direction they're taking the nation. Yeah? And that is the machine of the political entity they are a part of. Yeah, so you've got to take on, in Boris Johnson's case, the Conservative machine. In Donald Trump's case, the Republican machine, not them individually. Now, an opposite view of a Teflon person is Corbyn. He is not Teflon. He is a sponge. Everything that was levelled against him, he never seemed to adequately brush it off. Get past it. Yeah? It was always there. It didn't matter where he went. It was always there. Are you going to distance yourself from anti-Semitism? It was always there. Are you going to distance yourself from communistic regimes? It was always there. Are you going to distance yourself from people who have been classed as enemies of this nation? It was always there. He couldn't brush it off. It was like a sponge. He just soaked it up. Whereas Boris Johnson could have been in exactly the same position, just bounced off him. Yeah. So the way you deal with the two individuals is, yes, Corbyn, you could go on a personal level and destroy him and everybody get fed up with him. 12th of December 2019. How did that work out? Boris Johnson, you can go at him on a personal level. One of the things I saw against him, regardless of who he is, one of the things I saw against him, and it really made me curious, and this was, I think it was the first time round where Theresa May got in instead of him. But one of the things that was being levelled against him was the fact that in all the jobs he'd ever had as a car journalist, Boris Johnson was a car journalist, but whatever jobs he had in the past, he never did them. He always used to get other people, his lackeys, to do those jobs. And this was something that was being levelled against him all the time, right? And I was sitting there thinking, that is a really stupid argument to use against somebody who could potentially be the Prime Minister, or who goes on to be the Prime Minister. Because what you're effectively saying is that this man has spent his entire life, right, getting his underlings to do his job for him, delegating work to the correct people to get the job done to what seems to have been a relatively high standard in previous jobs. So the reason he shouldn't be Prime Minister is because he can delegate work to people who get it done. That's a really dumb... Do you see how Teflon works? It's a really kind of dumb position to take. Because a leader of a country can't do everything themselves. They need underlings. They need, various department heads, their cabinet. And they need to be able to pick the right people to get the job done. Well, if Boris Johnson has made a career out of doing just that, to get himself where he is, how is that going to be a bad thing? Now, again, things he said of a racial nature. That's a bad thing. Again, but because the main drive was how lazy he was in his job, everything under it, no matter how serious, whether it was misogyny, racism, whatever, bounced off him. That's Teflon. And it's the same with Trump. Teflon. So you can't go after them. Give up going after them. Yeah? Go after the direction the party is going. And be very, very specific. Otherwise it's just going to bounce off. And if you continue to go after the racist leavers, that's the other thing, racist leavers. Members of my family up north, like my Uncle Mike, who's appeared on this channel, he was a miner. Okay, he was a bona fide miner, right? A self-confessed socialist. I'm going to call him a market socialist, because effectively that's what he is. He's not a communist. And he voted Leave and wouldn't vote Labour in the last election. Okay? Oh, because he's a racist, misogynist, blah, 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 blah. He has stood shoulder to shoulder on protests for better women's rights, the abolishment of the criminal act regarding to homosexuality, yeah, and for better rights for people from the West Indies and minorities in this country. And a lot of people that voted like him, of his age group, are the same. So how are they misogynistic racists? there is a flaw in that argument. I was speaking to one young lad at a place I usually go. I can be there 2 or 3 hours doing a collection. So I'll waddle off into Security Hut when a certain shift is on, because I get on with the old guy in there, a proper raster of the old school. Brilliant bloke. Brilliant guy. And there's a young lad that works in there. He's from Birmingham. His family are of Asian descent. I'm not going to guess the country. That would be wrong. He, and I believe his parents, were born in this country, so he's British. But he's of Asian descent. Okay? He's young. Rasta. He's older. He's probably into his 60s. And we have these conversations, you know, all these in-depth conversations about the state of the country and all this kind of stuff. Now, the older guy voted leave. The younger guy voted leave. And the older guy, he's been here since he was knee-high to a grasshopper. His parents emigrated here. He's lived through us going in, seen what it's been, and left for his own reasons. The younger lad, who voted leave and is of Asian descent, has said that the problem is that the vast majority of people who voted leave were racist. You know, racism was the reason for leave. And I'm like, well, why did you vote for it then? Calling yourself a racist? Oh, no, I voted for it because of X, Y, Z, you know, his family members coming from outside the EU and the visa thing and getting into the country and the difficulty of doing that. And I'm like, yeah, but you're saying that the older generation that voted leave are all racist misogynists. Yet, the members of my family who voted that way, the older generation that are in question here, were the same generation that campaigned to get homosexuality, you know, legal. I don't want to say legalised, but you can use that term. They campaigned for better rights for women in the workplace. Because when they went to work, when Margaret Thatcher took over in this country, it was perfectly fine. This is 1979, so my uncle and that were way into their working lives at that point in time. It was perfectly fine for you to just pinch the arse of your secretary and go, all right, darling, all right, sweetheart, go get me a cup of tea. It was fine. Yeah, and they campaigned steadily to get that so that it's not fine. Yeah, so that it's not okay for you to go in, pinch her ass, feel her boob, you know, give her a little peck on the cheek without, you know, being invited to style thing, you know. Literally, in today's society, assault. Yeah? And so that's what they campaigned against. So now you're calling those same people racist, misogynistic. It can't stick. These people have a history, an entire lifetime spent fighting these things you're levelling against them. And so in order to get past this, if you are on the Remain side or you are on the rejoin side, because I think Remain now, obviously that's dead in the water, so it'll be the rejoin side. Yes, I think we can use that term now, rejoin. If you're on that side, stop with the racist thing and the misogynistic thing and the meh, and start with the policy. Yeah? Because you're dealing with Teflon. Okay, nothing you sling at it's gonna stick. Alright? Whether you like me saying this or whether you don't, it's true. It ain't gonna stick. So you need to go for policy. And on that kind of note, you're going to need, I can't believe I'm going to say this, you're going to need Keir Starmer. So why am I saying Keir Starmer? This is going to cause controversy. I can feel it now. Right, Keir Starmer is QC. He's Sir Keir Starmer, knighted, because he was Crown Prosecution Service head of, and he has spent his life, he's made a career out of cross-examination, out of using evidence, however weak or however strong, to form an argument to win a court case during cross-examination. Okay? That's what he's made his career of. Rebecca Long Bailey, okay, yeah, she's in law, I know that. But Keir Starmer, you know, he's kind of, you got the law people and then you got the people who go up the ladder. And he kind of got pretty much to the top of that ladder short of being, a forever judge style thing. But he's made a career out of doing cross-examinations. Now, the way the result of the election went, winning the next election for Labour, it's doable. That kind of distance has been made up before. Can't deny that. But it isn't usual. The thing is, you need somebody opposite Boris Johnson who's, one, good at remembering facts, figures, evidence, and two, gifted at cross-examination. Now, okay, Keir Starmer doesn't have a perfect track record, but neither does anybody else. All right? No one else does. Yeah? What you've got to do in such a majority position is elect somebody who is going to stand at that ballot box and convince people of the political direction of the Conservatives being wrong. Whether he's got weak evidence to suggest that policy's bad or really, really overwhelming strong evidence. They've got to stand there and be able to cross-examine the Prime Minister at every possible opportunity. Not just at PMQs, but every time. When they're being interviewed on TV, by newspapers, when they're at a rally, a conference, or whatever. They've got to be able to do that. And Keir Starmer is the person who can do that. Whether he wins an election, well, you're not going to be able to hold this government to account easily because of the deficit of seats between the right and the left. Yeah? All you can do now is hope that your argument convinces some of the backbench Tories, maybe this isn't a good idea. Maybe we should either abstain or vote against this. Yeah? Because you could have everybody on the left vote against the Tories, they're still going to win. Yeah? So now you've got everybody on the left going to vote against the Tories. Okay, brilliant. Now you've got to start convincing some of the moderate Tories on the back benches, maybe there's a better way of doing this. Maybe this is going to be bad for my constituents. Maybe, you've got to start getting them to either not vote or at least vote against. Either vote against or at least not vote. Sorry, I'll get it the right way around. Apologies. That's what you've got to do. Yeah, and I'm absolutely certain that Rebecca Long-Bailey would make a very good Labour leader, potentially a good Prime Minister. Nothing major against her personally. Keir Starmer, again, he'd be your best choice. I've got nothing against him personally. He would be your best choice though. At the moment. And I think this is the thing where strategy falls apart in political parties. Because, we need a woman to lead us. That's the Labour mentality. Why? The only argument you can possibly have is that the Tories did it over 40 years ago. So if you're going to stand there and say, Labour finally need a woman to lead them, the Tories can stand there, again, Teflon, remember? The Tories can stand there and go, you finally did it 40 years later. Yeah? And they can still go 2-1. Again, it's that kind of argument. You've got to be strategic now because you've got such a deficit. And if you're not, you're going to do it all for the wrong reason. Yeah? You're going to do it totally for the wrong reasons. And if you're fighting somebody who is Teflon, you can't do it for the wrong reasons. I mean, Boris Johnson is one of those people where Brexit could go completely catastrophically wrong, put 10 million people on the dole, and it will just brush off him. And you and I, you know that. You know I'm right. You know this could go catastrophically wrong. And it'd all just brush off him. It would be because some Labour peers, blocked the policy that they needed. It would be because the people of the left blocked certain things. There'll be some reason. Yeah? Donald Trump is guilty of what he's been accused of. That is beyond contestation. He's still going to get acquitted. All the evidence, the phone call, everything. He is guilty of it. But again, it's that quid pro quo. You scratch my back, I scratch your back. How many presidents in America do you think have done a quid pro quo with another government behind closed doors that have never made it, to the public realm? I'm going to guess virtually every president and probably every leader in every country has at some point done a you scratch my back, I scratch yours. How Donald Trump did it is wrong. You can't withhold aid. Aid is, aid, let's be honest. But it's the same kind of thing. It's quid pro quo. It's you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. It's like Obama. He comes in, everyone's, hey, Obama, woo, all that kind of stuff. All of a sudden, under Obama's presidency, they find Osama bin Laden. And you genuinely think they just randomly came across a 6'7" Arab on dialysis. And they haven't been able to find him. I mean, he's not that hard to spot. Let's be honest. So there is some backroom, you scratch my back, I'll scratch your back deal that was made. Yeah? And you could do that with virtually any president, any situation where something miraculously happened in a different country. Yeah? So you decided to go after a president for doing effectively a backroom deal that happens in politics every single day of the week, every day of the working year. So he's guilty of it. We know he's guilty of it. But he's still going to get a quid. No, he might. At the moment, we don't know for sure he's going to get a quid, and it probably might damage his career or whatever. But again, it's that kind of Teflon thing. You're going after somebody for something everybody else does. What you've got to do when it gets to that is hold them politically. Yeah? Policies. Strategy. That's what you've got to do at the moment if you are anti-conservative, anti-Johnson, anti-Brexit, whatever. You have to now get somebody who is going to be able to hold it, to pick apart policy. Not personality. Doesn't work. Johnson's the Prime Minister of this country after everything he's ever done. Trump, President of the United States of America, after his entire lifetime. Yeah? You can't get them on a personal level. Doing the same thing repeatedly, expecting a different outcome, is the definition of insanity. I mean, think about that for a second. Keir Starmer is the person who has made a knighthood, recognised on the honours list, obviously, knighthood, out of cross-examination and winning. It's just a thought. I'm throwing it out there. Yeah? Just a thought. Now, I can say this. A lot of people would be like, oh, well, you're obviously conservative because you never liked Corbyn. All of a sudden, I'm saying how Labour can, move forward. Yeah, and potentially become electable. Yeah? Oh, well, you didn't like Corbyn. You must be a conservative. All of a sudden, I'm having a go at conservatism. And I'm calling Boris Johnson Teflon and picking out the stuff he's done wrong. Yeah? So maybe I am technically neutral. It's just a thought. Maybe, personally, I don't agree with the way our government operates and think that there's a better way of doing things. And therefore, I don't care if it's Conservative, I don't care if it's Labour. Both of them are operating on a platform I perceive to be wrong, therefore, they're wrong. Right? It's like the whole kind of, if you get enough people to tell a lie, is it really true? Well, the saint of England is who? St. George. He's famous for what? Slaying a dragon. Think about that for a second. Let it trickle in. Does it mean it's true? Yeah? It's that whole kind of concept. But anyway, I think I've droned on enough on this one. I'm sure I'm going to get yelled at in the comment section by people who don't think that you can be neutral in this country. Okay, fine, do whatever you want, but you know, I didn't like Corbyn. I didn't like Corbyn. I had nothing against Labour. Yeah? Conservatives? I'm not exactly a conservative if I think Theresa May was a window licker and Boris Johnson is, well, he's Teflon. He's getting away with a lot of things that it shouldn't put him in his position. Yeah? His entire history would be here all bleeding year if I went through that, let's be honest. But again, it's that whole kind of, oh, you can't be neutral because, oh, I can. So that's why I'm telling Labour, I'm saying, Keir Starmer. Yeah? If I was a Conservative, I'd be sitting here going, how did the 12th of December work out for you lot? Wouldn't I? I wouldn't be standing, I'd be telling you go for Thornbury or somebody like that. I wouldn't be sitting here going, right, go for the person who can really stitch Boris up. Think about that, just think about it. Yeah? Just because I'm saying something you don't want to hear doesn't mean that I'm wrong and you're right. And it doesn't mean that, oh, I'm just going to write him off because, you know, he's obviously a Conservative. As I've said many times before, just because you believe something doesn't mean that you're right. It applies to me as well as it applies to you. But you've got to look at the facts of what's going on. Trump is Teflon. Boris Johnson is Teflon. You keep going at them on a personal level, or you keep going at their voters for being racist and everything, given the track record of the vast majority of the people who voted because they just didn't want Corbyn and they were fed up with what was going on. Yeah? You can't beat them because their track record is campaigning for gay rights, campaigning for female rights, campaigning for better rights and better equality for ethnic minorities. And now you're calling them racist, misogynist. Yeah. You can't win on that. So now you've got to go policy. And only policy. Sod everything else. Yeah? That's what you've got to do. But anyway, like I said, I've droned on way too long for this one. I'm probably going to do it for everyone, let's be honest. It's me. I'll see you next week. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, share about, do whatever it is you usually do. Catch you in the next one.